Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're here with dispatch number 2 from CES 2017. We're beginning the day at Central Hall, and I'll tell you more about Central Hall in a second, but I first want to remind you that our CES coverage is being sponsored by Silicon Dust, the makers of the HD Home Run. It's my favorite cord-cutting device. You all know how much I use it around my home to bring my cable television out to my tablets and computers and DVRs and all that good stuff. They also have over-the-air versions too, so you can build your own television setup in your home with over-the-air signals for free. Really great stuff. Works just about everything. You can see my full playlist down below that I've been accumulating content for over the last 4 years. So Central Hall is where a lot of the bigger brands are located. So we took a look at the Intel booth a little while ago. It's hard to even walk in there. There's so many people. These booths are rather opulent, but they are that way for two reasons. One is to impress the media, obviously, so you can see all the new products that are on display for your consumption later in the year, but also because this show is about deal making too. So all the big brands are meeting with each other and making all the deals that will go into products that we might see 2 or 3 years down the road. So your presence here at the show and how big it looks is important to impress potential partners as well as perhaps to intimidate your competitors. So that's why these companies invest so much in these booths. And some of them might run in upwards of $1 million or more to set up. It's pretty crazy, but with 160,000 people here at CES, they probably consider it a pretty good investment. And just as an example of booth opulence, let's take a look at Sony here. They have like a huge section of the convention hall here, and they've done like some construction here too. So we got the ceiling, and it looks like they got some load-bearing walls on this thing too that really just shows you how much investment these companies make in marketing their products. Because one of the things about CES, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about your partners and your competitors, it's also about retailers, because people who are making buying decisions for the coming year are also coming here to look at the product line and figure out what they may want to add to their store shelves this year as well. So the stakes are very high, and Sony, at least in my experience here at CES, always has probably the most ridiculously large booth. So we're in here at the Canon booth, and one of the things I've been following over the last couple of years is the development of camcorders, because I use a lot of camcorders on the channel. In fact, this version is actually the newer version of what I use in the studio. This is the HFG 40. And then some of the other cameras I've used in the past are some of the low-end ones like this one. This is the HFR 82. Now, it's been really intriguing to me over the last probably 3 or 4 years as I've been following Canon and Sony and developing these camcorders, especially the low-end ones, is that they haven't changed all that much. There's really no new features. They've maybe tweaked the sensors a little bit, added some battery life, but by and large, the cameras you're buying today are very similar to the ones you may have maybe looking at 3 or 4 years ago. So one of the things that I recommend often with camcorders like these is if you can find the previous version of it, you'll get them at a pretty good price, especially as they begin to cycle their inventory over to the new cameras. So most of these low-end ones are still 1080p. They do 60 frames per second recording, but really not much of an improvement there. And I was actually surprised that the HFG 40, which is their top-of-the-line consumer model, still isn't doing 4K either. All right, so we're over at the Panasonic booth, and this is a new headset that they're developing that solves a problem that I've seen with a lot of VR headsets, in that you don't get a lot of your peripheral vision included in a normal VR mode. So right now, I'm seeing a more realistic VR image because my peripheral vision is also getting something. They've got a pretty cool lens in here that allows it to kind of wrap around your entire field of vision. What they're doing in my headset right now is showing me traditional VR and then this new extended version. There is a line kind of in the center of the headset here, but really it's really cool to get this wide of a range of field of vision. That's one of the things. I have an HTC Vive, and one of the things with the Vive that I have not liked is that the field of vision is a little narrower than I would like. So really only the darker scenes look realistic to me because it's black. This one obviously is a very brightly lit scene that I'm looking at right now, and it really does look pretty cool. So this is emerging technology, not yet a product, but pretty cool stuff to see peripheral vision making its way into VR. So we are now at the Sands Convention Center. This is across the street from the main CES activities where all those big booths are. We're in the little area now because this is where all of the young and hungry and scrappy startups are located, trying to find investors and customers for their products. So we're going to go through here. We're not going to get to everything, I'm sure, because we only have a few hours left in the day here, but we may come back because this is where all the cool and unique stuff that you've never heard of before will be found, and we're going to go look for some of it right now. So we're taking a look at the Sphericam. This is not inexpensive. It's going to cost about $2,000, but this is where I think you have to go with these VR immersive video, because we're seeing a lot of these single sensor cameras. This one has a sensor for every lens that you see on the camera here, which means that when you do your 360 video, it actually will look a lot better and have much higher resolution. That's why I like this. And one of the things I like about these all-in-one packages is that you don't have to buy a bunch of GoPros and a rig and everything. You can just buy a single device out of the box and get things going. They also say that it will do real-time stitching at 30 frames per second inside the camera, 60 frames per second if you've got a beefy laptop. So now we're here with the tiny one, and if you've ever tried to take photos at night, you know it's a rather difficult thing sometimes to get the stars in your shots, kind of like some things that we see on these boards here. And this camera is designed to allow you to do astrophotography out of the box, so you don't have to really configure much. The camera is geared to do that. So you, I guess on the back here, there will be a display that will give you the stars that you can align with the camera's image to get pictures of what you're looking to get. So you can tell the camera, hey, I want to go see this thing. It'll direct you to point the camera in the right direction, and then it'll fire off a picture, and you'll get things like you see here on these boards here. So, of course, you'll probably get a better image with a really high-end DSLR and some professional skills behind it. But if you want to get into astrophotography, I always like cameras and other devices that give you kind of an entry level to something more complicated, a way to learn with basic hardware. Then you can take those skills over to more complex things. So I found another cool thing if you are a photographer. This is called the Unleashed, and it's from Foolography, and it's just little tiny connector. They make one for the Canon cameras also. It just plugs right into the side of your camera. The port powers it, and you can do a whole bunch of control of your camera with the device. So you could set it up for night photography like we saw with that other camera that was designed just to do that. You could take your SLR, plug it in here, link it up with an app. They got the app running here on the side to show how some of it works. And it will actually allow you to adjust exposure based on the time of day. So if you're doing a day to night kind of time-lapse photography session, it will adjust the exposure for you automatically, which was cool. It also geotags photos, which is a big thing for me because I have a older Nikon camera that doesn't have GPS on board. I always want to know where my photos were taken. So this will pass that data back from your phone, and I'm guessing it goes over Bluetooth Low Energy to do all of that. So you can pre-order this right now for $149, and they've got a version for Canon and for Nikon. So we're here looking at the Zeit Dice, and this is a time-lapse camera. So what you do with this thing is you set it up somewhere, and it just takes a picture at a certain interval and stores them. And then after that period of time has happened, you can then compile them into a video. And what's unique about this is that it's got a long-lasting battery, and it shoots at 1080p. So you will get a full 1080p video out of it when you're done. The battery will last about 3 months on this thing on a charge, given that it's just taking a picture every so often. But you can also plug it into USB or attach a solar panel to it and have it kind of go indefinitely. And the price on this right now for pre-order is $279. It's going to go up to $299 after it comes out. You can find it at zeitdice.com. We are now over at the Mirabook booth because they've got a pretty neat idea here, and I think there's another company doing something similar to this. So this is a laptop shell essentially, and what you do is connect up a smartphone to it, and the smartphone ends up powering the laptop component, so you don't have to have two different devices essentially. This is kind of a blank shell. This particular version here is Windows Continuum compatible. So if you have a Windows phone, you'll be able to run your universal apps on a larger screen with a laptop interface. They also have an Android version which will overlay some B-roll on for you. That one works off an app that you load on your phone, and it gives you a desktop interface with a bunch of different apps built into it, web browser and a few other minor apps on that side. So I think the Windows one might be a little more useful, but kind of neat to see phones now powering laptops to some degree. So these guys are launching an Indiegogo campaign. It's going to cost $299 later in the year. But I often like to look at these crowdfunded things that actually have a working prototype. So that's what we're seeing here. I got the Android version over there that I tried, and this one here. They both work, so that's why we're talking about it. All right, so this is something I can't get close enough to put myself in front of the camera on, but this is called the Kino Mo. And what these are little fans that have LED lights on the front of them, and as they turn, they're able to generate these amazingly clear and almost three-dimensional images. They really stick out because the fans, of course, are sticking out a bit from the wall here, but the fans turn so fast that you really don't see the fan turning, so these images look like they just kind of float in air. So really cool stuff. Kino Mo. I don't know if I would have any use for this at home, but I'm very impressed with the clarity of the image. We're getting some synchronization issues with the camera, so they look a little more flickery on camera than they do in person. So we're seeing some retro stuff, including a lot of turntables here at the show. This one kind of stood out for me because it has vacuum tube amplifiers on it. This is really cool. So this will play back Bluetooth and a whole bunch of other stuff. The amplifier is built in, so you can run things into it. You can bring your music over wirelessly to it. and it will play your records. But it's very expensive. It's about $3,000 for the entry-level version, so that will cost you a little bit, but it's got wood grain, which I think is pretty cool. The other neat thing is they have a carbon fiber arm here for the record player, which is also kind of nice to see. So a little bit of a modern touch on a very retro piece of gear. So here's a cool thing I just stumbled across. This is called the FreeWrite. And maybe it's my advanced age that makes me attracted to these retro-styled products, but this is really just a word processor. It's got an e-ink display on there with a mechanical keyboard, and if you are looking for distracted-free writing, this might be the way to go, but it also connects up with Wi-Fi, so you can have it upload your completed documents or your in-progress documents into Dropbox so that you can get at those files on your distraction-filled computer a little later on. It costs $4.99. It's available right now over at getfreewrite.com. Pretty cool product. All right, so we're at the Anyware Solutions booth. They have a really neat little IoT thing that caught my eye. I love these light bulbs that you can do controlling functions with. And this one is a little socket that you put into your lamp, essentially. It's got the standard light bulb adapter there. And it does home security monitoring, it does air quality monitoring, and a couple of other things, including the ability to measure how much electricity the light is using and control of the light itself. And then you take out one of these bulbs, and these are commercially available. I didn't realize these existed, but these are tiny little light bulbs that have the same brightness as the bigger ones. That one will screw into the top of this bulb here, and you can get a fully functional light bulb. And they might be looking to sell this or provide this through utility carriers initially, but if it does make a consumer entrance, it'll be about $70 for the socket itself, and you'll have to buy the light bulb separately. All right, so we're over here at Smash Toast. That's the name of the company. They got something here called the Puck, and I kind of like simple things, and this is a simple thing. So what this does is it works as an IR blaster for your home theater and television components. So what you do is you get it in proximity to your devices. It works over Bluetooth low energy to a smartphone. Right now, iPhone only, but they said Android is coming, so stop complaining down in the comment stream. And what you do is just set it up in front of there, get it programmed, and it will allow you to control all of your components through a single app. And these little guys are available for $30 each on getpuck.com, and you can support a bunch of different devices on here, as you can see. So here's another interesting little thing I stumbled across. This is called the Keezel, and what this is a way of using public hotspots more securely. So if you are on Wi-Fi and you're on like the Starbucks thing or something that doesn't have a WPA password, your Wi-Fi is getting pretty much transmitted out to everyone that is in listening distance of that radio signal. So what they've done with this device, pretty simple actually, is it acts as a proxy server. So it connects to the public Wi-Fi, and then it tunnels your traffic through a secure VPN. So nothing that you transmit is seen by others in the room with you, which is pretty good if you've got sites that are not using secured SSL encryption for your passwords and whatnot. It's a pretty simple device. It also doubles as a little portable charger. He says you get about 16 hours of usage out of it. So what you would do with this is when you show up to the Starbucks, turn it on, connect to it, and then it will tunnel through the internet to their private VPN server. So nice little security thing, especially if you're a road warrior. And the Keezel sells for $149, and there is a $5 monthly fee for the VPN service. All right, so now we're over taking a look at the Spud. This is one of these things I backed on Kickstarter, so we'll be having a review of it when it comes out. They're coming out pretty soon. I got George here who's going to help me with a demonstration, but what this is a kind of like a portable projection screen. It's back projected, so you can take this out and add a larger screen to your workspace if you want. They've got a prototype shiny exterior on it. They're going to replace that with a matte one. The challenge, as they told me, is that getting these things to not wrinkle is a real challenge, but their matte display will ship with it. So George is going to collapse it real quick and show you how it collapses down. And they're still operating with it, but basically what you do is fold it up and put it into a small bag. So a lot more portable than you might have with a monitor, obviously, because you can fit it in a bag. So it's not that big, like the size of maybe a decent-sized hardcover book, I guess, right? And then it just pops back out, and you're back up and running again. So kind of a neat way to add a second display. These will retail for $4.99. They'll be released later this year. All right, so that's going to wrap up day 2 here at CES, and we had a long day today. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, but I imagine it's going to be taking a long time to upload over the hotel Wi-Fi when I get back. So we'll do more tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what I'll have tomorrow because I have a few meetings that might make it difficult for me to get to as many things as I would like to, but I'm definitely going to be spending a lot of time on Saturday wrapping up the show. So we saw a lot of of cool stuff today. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on it. Again, I'm looking for things that are not being covered as much by other media outlets, because there's certainly a lot of coverage out there, and I want to be unique in what I cover. So let me know what you thought of today's dispatch. A lot of you liked yesterday's and wanted more, so now you got more. And let me know if this was too much. We'll have, I think what I'll probably do is compile all this footage up in more searchable and digestible bites. I'm not sure where I'll put that just yet, but I threw a lot of stuff at you today, so I do want to find a way to organize all of it when we are done. So I'd love to have your feedback, and we will see you all tomorrow. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching. This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.